Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining our November Florida Broker Roundtable on negotiating and protecting your real estate commission, hosted by our Florida broker, Emily Drawhan. As you know, every month we have a special promotion where you can receive fun gifts and promotions from Allison James just for referring an agent to us. For the month of November and through the remainder of 2019, you have the chance to earn $30 in cash for each agent referred to us, up to $750. In addition to receiving $30 in cash, you will also have one entry for each referral into our jackpot drawing. Then, on January 2nd, we will draw a name and one lucky winner will win $1,000. That means from now till the end of 2019, you have the chance to earn a total of $1,750. Please keep in mind that you have to have spoken with the agent you refer about Allison James, and we must be able to speak to them about the opportunity to join our company. To refer an agent to us anytime, please go to Allison James University and click on the Referrals tab. From there, you will find a form that you can fill out with the agent's information. Today's webinar is sponsored by our preferred lenders, Success Mortgage Partners. To learn more about Success Mortgage Partners, please visit successmortgagepartners.com or you can call 734-259-0880. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with our Florida Broker Roundtable. Remember, if you have any questions during today's presentation, you can type them in the chat box on your Zoom control panel, and we will do a Q&A at the end of the presentation. I will now pass it over to Emily. Good afternoon, Emily.
Good afternoon, Tori. Hello, everyone. So sorry for the delay. There's some technical difficulties, but we are up and running. I will be sharing my screen, and I just have a few bullet points today that I wanted to go over. Can you see my screen?
Let me stop sharing here.
Okay.
No, I don't see it yet.
Yeah, it said I couldn't share it because I guess you were
perfect. There you go.
Sharing it. All righty, fantastic. So today's topic is negotiating and protecting your real estate commission. Reason why I wanted to go over this, I know a lot of agents reach out to me in regards to listing agreements and obviously competing with the top producers that are out there. And I just wanted to share some words of knowledge and wisdom. One of the things that I have noticed throughout my years in real estate is in this business, the ones who get the most of the listings are those agents that are two things, okay? Yes, sometimes they have a great marketing presentation or listing presentation, but I do find that those that are confident and confident, okay, are the ones that are out there excelling. And I'm going to talk. I want to talk to you about that today. I actually am taking an 8-week course. And I heard the instructor say one thing. I said, wow, I definitely need to share that because I agree 100%. And that is a person who is confident, okay, who's confident, but is not competent is a disaster. And a person who who's competent but lacks confidence is easy to persuade. Okay, and I do see that a lot with agents who they feel that they have to drop their commission rate because they're not confident. Now, I'm going to go ahead and touch on these separately. So, what is being confident? Well, it's not just about knowing the business. Okay. I find it kind of like ironic when people go to the doctor or surgeon, possibly they have something major in their life done, and they are willing to pay a high cost to seek the best professional out there. Well, with real estate, it should not be any different, right? If you are a person who has been in this business long enough and you have the years of experience and you are confident and you know what it takes in this business to sell a listing, then they should pay a higher premium, not a lower premium. So it always blows my mind. I'm like, okay, why is it that we're cutting back our commission when in reality we should be asking what's fair, okay? So with that said, I do notice too that there are agents out there that have a great listing presentation. They have a great marketing strategy. They are very active in social media. But when it comes to actually perform, okay, that's when they actually come short, okay? Reason I say that is because throughout my years of experience, I've experienced agents that have called me in the past because they have a listing and they were not familiar with the purchase agreement that the other agent presented. So as you know, we have several purchase agreements. The most popular ones are the as-is contract and then the crisp contract. Now, if you're not familiar with your contracts, you need to be familiar with them, okay? Because in the past, I have gotten calls from agents that were not familiar with the contract that was presented by the other agent. And when it comes to the home repairs, when it comes to negotiating home repairs, that's when they find out that in the contract, if they use the crisp contract, they actually locked their seller into a 1.5% of the purchase price in home repairs. That represents a lot of money sometimes. For example, on if you do the math on a, let's say, for example, $350,000 home, on a $350,000 home times 1.5%, we're talking about $5,250. So they just committed their seller, okay, they just committed their seller in $5,250 in repairs. Okay, that is a big chunk of money. And imagine now having to go to your seller and tell them, Mr. Seller, I didn't notice that in the contract we agreed to 1.5% of the purchase price and repairs. So you want to make sure that when you are in front of the sellers, that you tell them, why is it that they want to choose you? You are not only knowledgeable in this business, your experience, but you also are familiar with what best contract offers the best protection for them. And also, I sometimes get phone calls from agents that are not familiar with negotiating home repairs, okay? So negotiating the purchase price is one thing, but there's other things that you're going to be negotiating as well. For example, home repair. So you want to make sure that you tell them, hey, I know how to negotiate home repairs, okay? And I will bring my knowledge to the table, my expertise, and I will do what it takes to get you more money in your pocket. And that's what ultimately sellers want to hear. They want to hear that they're going to get the most money for their investments. Now, confidence. So obviously being confident is when you actually are able to, know your market, your souls, their pendings. Hopefully you took the time to go out there before the listing presentation. You took the time to go out there and look at the comps yourself. That way, when you have your seller when you have the seller in front of you, you are actually able to talk to them about the other properties, about what you have seen. You can compare it to theirs rather than just looking at pictures. If they actually see that you took the time, you took the effort to go out there and look at the comps yourself, walk into the house and look at those comps yourself, that says a lot about you, okay, that says that you actually did the work, you cared enough to go out there to do the work, and you're already doing a lot of work even prior to getting the listing. I firmly believe in doing your homework before a listing presentation and taking the time to go out there and be familiar with the community. The seller shouldn't be telling you about the HOA. The seller shouldn't be telling you about the CDDs or where the clubhouse is located, how many pools are on the communities. Those are things that you should already know ahead of time, okay? So I find that those agents who go out there and they do the research, they do the homework prior to, I see them being more successful for that reason, because they actually took the time to do the research prior to. And sellers like that, okay? They like to know that you came in prepared. You came in with the comps and the solds and the active. You were able to look at them and you were able to analyze them, okay? You're just not throwing a number at them. You're just not talking about the comps just based on what you read, okay? You are coming to them, okay, with a purchase price that's based on what you saw yourself, okay? So I feel that that is what is going to separate you from the competition, okay? Being prepared and doing the research ahead of time. Now, I'm gonna switch here to competing with a top producer. Okay, so yes, there's always someone in our area who is getting most of the listings, who dominates either the area that you want to farm or possibly the area where you are trying to get the listing from, okay? And I understand that that is going to be challenging sometimes. But with that said, keep in mind one thing. Keep in mind that when you when there's a top producer in the area, okay, typically that top producer has an assistant, okay? So when you are scheduling showings, either you're doing it through showing time or you are calling a call center or possibly even their assistant, okay? I can't tell you how many times I have called and to schedule a showing, and I leave the listing agent a voicemail, and next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call back from their assistant. So now I'm actually talking to the assistant, who has never been in the property, by the way. So I don't actually ever get to talk to the agent. Even sometimes you submit the offer and you submit the offer to the assistant. You don't submit it to the agent. So basically the agent takes the listing. Once they take the listing, now it gets handed over to the assistant, and then the assistant is going to be the one scheduling the showings, is going to be the one calling about feedback. She's going to be the one basically she's going to be the main contact person, okay, for the listing, okay? Well, in your case, if you don't have an assistant, that's great. That works in your favor. I'm actually the type of person that I like to pick up the phone and talk to people. So when I list the property, I actually am the one who schedules the showing. So I am talking to the agent directly. I ask the agent about the buyer, okay? And then when the buyer's agent shows the property, then I call back for feedback, okay? That way I could go back to the seller and provide them feedback. So yes, top producers, they do have an advantage that they already dominate that market, but you have to present yourself as, hey, guess what? I'm going to be the one talking to the buyer's agent, and also tell them, hey, when someone calls on your property, okay, when a potential buyer calls on your property, I'm going to make every effort to convert that buyer into a sale. I'm not going to show them around other properties. I'm going to tell them why this property is unique and why this property is going to fit their needs. Okay, that's another way too that you can sell yourself, converting the leads that are going to be calling on their property. Okay, because sometimes agents will just go ahead and tell them about the property. Well, that property doesn't work. They will put them in the car and show them other properties. Okay, so you wanted to let them know that, hey, I have a good conversion rate when it comes to buyer leads. Okay, I will bring the buyer to your home and I will show them how this is the perfect property for them. Okay, you want to try to bring as many buyers to the property, because I have seen it where the agent gets a listing and they never bring in a buyer. They never have a showing of a buyer that they brought in on their own. And next thing you know, now the seller is upset and they're saying, well, why should I pay you a commission? You really didn't bring me the buyer. Okay, it happens quite frequently. I have seen it many times. So you want to make sure that you are driving traffic to that property so they could see that you are showing the property to potential buyers as well. I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, protecting your commission. So what's happening is, okay, recently I found out that in the listing agreement, as you know, there's the arbitration clause. Well, and that clause has 3 spots for initials. One for the seller, one for the agent, and one for the broker. Okay, well, I will make a note if the seller did not initial. I'll make a note in SkySlope, and also if it's missing your initials. Well, I just found out recently that there was a case that went in front of the grievance committee, and it was regarding a listing. It was a dispute between the seller and the listing agent because the listing agreement did not have the broker's initials on that arbitration clause. The grievance committee found that that was an incomplete listing. So unfortunately, the listing agent lost the case. Okay, so I am telling you this because if moving forward, if you want to email me that one page where it requires or it asks for the broker's initials, feel free to do that. I already have agents that have been doing that. They email me the one page so I could go ahead and initial. That way it protects your commission. Okay, if there's any disputes where you bring in a contract and then your listing expires and then that buyer goes back to the seller, and then they get to sell them the property to that buyer that you brought while you were the listing agent, you want to have your commission protected. So again, if you want to email me that page, feel free to do so. Send it via DigiSign, and I'll go ahead and sign it electronically. Commission agreement. So you want to prepare a commission agreement when it's not just a FISBO case, okay, a FISBO listing. Yes, definitely when it's a FISBO, you want to have this agreement prior to, but oftentimes I do see agents who will upload contracts and they say, well, I'm representing the buyer, but the seller has agreed to pay me a commission, but I don't see a commission agreement. You want to make sure that you have a commission agreement in writing, okay? Because everything gets done in writing, okay? That way your commission is protected. So make sure that if it's the case, maybe it's a friend of yours, family member, whatever the case is, and the property is off the market, make sure that you have them sign a commission agreement and upload it into SkySlope. Now, I do see sometimes where agents will go ahead and in the contract, in the purchase agreement, under additional terms, they'll go ahead and they'll write it in, okay? Seller to pay agent commission amounts of, and they'll state the dollar amount. That's okay, But if for some reason that contract doesn't go through, maybe the buyer didn't qualify for finance, and that purchase agreement now gets canceled, you have to realize that what could happen is, let's say if 30 days later, the buyer does find a lender that qualifies them, okay, for the loan. Now they could actually go directly to the seller, okay, knock on the door and say, "Hi, Mr. Seller, I've just been approved. We have a deal now," okay, and now you're out of the deal. You don't have a commission agreement, okay. You put it in the purchase agreement, but you don't have a commission agreement with that seller. So now you're out of the deal, okay. So again, protect your commission. Exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. This is between the buyer and the broker. So the broker would need to sign the agreement. Make sure you email that to me for signature. I'm gonna go ahead and in a few minutes here, I'm going to give you a little bit more details about the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. But I want to move on now to the builder commission agreement. So be familiar with your local builders in your area, okay, what their commission agreement is, okay. Some builders require that you bring your buyer with you the first time, okay, that they are in the community. If you send your buyer there, and then next thing you know, they see something, they want you to come back, some builders will not allow you to register them. Okay, reason being is because the buyer was already there once. So the builder won't allow you to register them. Once you have registered them, okay, ask the builder. Well, first of all, if I were you, I would take a picture of that registration, okay, and later on I will read it. You can actually go to the builder's website and read the commission agreement there. The reason why you want to do that is because some builders, the registration is only good for 30 days, okay? So you want to make sure that you're on top of it, because if it's only 30 days, sometimes it does take a while for a buyer to actually commit to something. So you want to make sure that you are on top of that commission agreement and you are constantly renewing the agreement. One last thing I want to say about builder commission agreement, always ask if they later come in with another realtor, if they are still going to honor your builder commission agreement. And the reason why I say that is because we actually had a case recently with one of our agents that she visited a community, new build community, and in that community she met a buyer that asked her to show her properties. They exchanged information. The next day she was out there showing them property. She took them back to this community where she had met him, and she registered the buyer. Well, the buyer saw a property that he really liked. So our agent was negotiating back and forth with the buyer when it comes to concessions and purchase price and things like that. Well, it turns out that the buyer said, well, I'm going to go ahead and think about this, okay? And that was the end of the conversation. When our agent, a day later, reached out to them to get, as a follow-up, the buyer did not respond. Eventually, they did respond and say that they now had another realtor. Okay, so this new realtor comes to the picture and takes the buyer to the community, shows them the same house that our agent showed them, and the buyer signs a contract. The builder scratched off our agent's name from the commission agreement and wrote in the name for the other realtor, okay? The realtor that came into the picture after the fact. Well, according to this builder, they're able to do that, okay? And long story short, the property closed, and the other agent got the commission paid. Well, the agent, calls me and tells me, what transpired. This agent had copies of the builder commission agreement. This agent had text messages back and forth from the buyer from day one, okay, showing that she had been actively working with him, showing him properties, that she actually did attempt to negotiate the sale of the transaction of the property that he purchased. And she said, Emily, I really believe that I was procuring cause, and I'm going to move forward and file a commission dispute. I need your permission because commission disputes are broker to broker, okay? So I said, okay. I honestly think that, yes, this was your buyer. Yes, you did the work. Yes, you're entitled to a commission, so let's move forward, okay? We filed the paperwork. We moved forward. Long story short, we went in front of the agreements committee a week and a half ago. We were asking for the full amount of the commission, which was $11,666 and some change. I believe it was like 24 cents. And we actually got a call last week stating that the grievance committee actually awarded our agent the full amount for the commission. So that was a huge success. We were very happy. And so I'm going to go ahead and move forward because I'm going to talk real quick about procuring costs. So in this case, the other agent had a buyer's agreement, okay? She had a buyer's agreement, but the buyer's agreement, the effective date was, I'll give you an example, March 1st. It did not get signed by the buyer or agent till a month and a half later. And then the broker signed it after the closing. Okay, I don't know how that transpired, but that's how it all went down. So, so she did have a buyer's agreement, okay, but she did not have the register form, the builder commission agreement, showing that the buyer filled it out, and in his handwriting, he wrote our agent's name. So they tried to say that he thought the whole time that he thought that our agent was representing the builder, okay, when it was very clear that she was not, and she made it very clear. And they also made it seem like because the buyer was Spanish speaking, they made it seem like our agent took advantage of that because the buyer was Spanish speaking and the agent was not. It turns out that our agent was Spanish speaking, and actually they were talking in Spanish. So why did we win this case? Okay, the reason why we won the commission dispute is because our agent had procuring cause. How did that happen? Well, she had text messages, okay, showing that she was actively working with that buyer, okay? She had the copy of the registration form, the builder commission agreement. So with determining procuring cause, let's say you meet a buyer and you have them sign the buyer's agreement, okay? Great, you have them sign a buyer's agreement, you show them property, and then 2 weeks later, you follow up, okay? Well, there's a gap there of 2 weeks, okay? You didn't follow up for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, they went out with another agent and they sold the same exact property that you showed them, okay? But you didn't follow up, okay? That's considered abandonment, okay? That's what they will consider abandonment, and for that reason, they will probably determine that you were not procuring cause because you left there a gap. So there cannot be gaps like that, okay? You have to be in constant contact with your buyers, okay? So just because you have that exclusive buyer's agreement, that does not protect you 100%. You have to have a log, keep a log of your, the activities, okay, that you have with your, buyers, okay? That way you're showing there that you are constantly in touch with them and that you are making every effort in finding them a home, because ultimately that's what your goal is, to find them a home, okay? The other thing I want to say is, one of the other reasons why I told our agent, yes, I'll move forward. The other agent was from another board that's about 2 hours away from me, and our agent is an hour away from me. So we had to meet halfway. Actually, what happened was they went ahead and they conferenced us, video conference. So I was actually at the Tampa board, and they were able to do video conference, and we were able to do everything via video calling. But one of the things that I told her is like, okay, we'll move forward. It's because she had dates, she had times, she had logs, she had documentation. Okay, that is very important, documentation. That's why I tell the agents, when you upload documents into SkySlope, they have to be legible. If you cannot read them, I'm not going to be able to read them. If I have to present those documents in front of an agreements committee, they are pretty much useless, okay? Because if you can't read them, I can't read them, they won't be able to read them. How are we going to be able to prove a case? We're not going to be able to prove our case, okay? So we were able to prove our case because of the documentation that she had, and everything was clear. Every document that we presented was clear, okay? It had details and it was cleared, okay? So I always tell our agents, I will go to bat for you, okay? But you have to help me. You have to help me with the paperwork, okay? You have to make sure that documents are signed. You have to make sure that documents are initialed. You have to make sure that they are clear, okay? Because if I have to present them, okay, you should see what the other side presented. It was quite embarrassing. It really was. It was quite embarrassing. My agent and I, our agent and I, we were looking at each other like, oh my goodness, this is embarrassing. It was embarrassing for me. I can't imagine it not being embarrassing for them. And I will have to say that we actually got a phone call from the person in charge of the committee, and she actually congratulated myself and our agent for presenting our case, for everything being so organized and detailed. And it was a great day for us. It was mentally draining that day. We spent 4 hours in front of the agreements committee, but we got it done, okay? And that, to me, is a huge success. You guys work hard. I want to make sure that you guys as commission, that you know what to do to protect your commission, but I also want you to know that I have your back, and if need be, if I need to go and bat for you, I will go out and bat for you. But again, you have to help me and just make sure that you have all your documentations and everything like you're supposed to. And that is it. I don't have anything else. Do we have any questions, Tori?
No, it doesn't look like we have any questions. Do you want to let them know where they can find you if they do?
Absolutely. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. If you need to get a hold of me, my direct number is 941-544-0865, or you can email me at flbroker@ajI.com, ajicorporate.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this month's Florida Broker Roundtable, and thank you to Emily for all of your wonderful insight and for organizing today's topic and presentation. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Tori.
Bye.